Hello everyone, Steven Harrold from the Ginger Snaps here with a nice little video update for you guys. It's been a while since I've actually made a video for you guys. Been pretty busy, took some time off, and decided, after the Calgary Horror Con and doing the NHL playoffs, it was about time to come back. So, first things first, what's in store? Well, a lot of things are going to be happening on the channel. In August, me and Chris are going to be doing the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. And yeah, we're going to be doing that, and of course filming and whatnot. So there's a lot of movie reviews I have to do and to catch up on, to do anniversaries of, but I'm looking forward to those. But you guys are probably kind of noticing something. One is there's some VHSs missing on the wall, and especially you guys probably noticed that the wall has changed. It's not fucking white anymore. It's a different color. So yeah, why is there so many VHSs kind of missing? That's because we accumulated more. So this is a VHS collection update video. So please enjoy the new tapes that we actually have. And then after the video of all the tapes we have, I'll show you guys how the wall looks after. Alright, so here we go. We're going to start off with the new VHS tapes that we had accumulated. So I'm not going to let you guys know exactly whose is whose, but basically going to be added to the wall. So first things first, we have The Invisible Man. Now, of course, Chris does have Dracula, Frankenstein, and the Creature from the Black Lagoon in this style, and he decided to grab this for his collection of that. Now, I know there's a whole bunch more that's like this, and he's just looking to add to it. And he also got one of my favorites, which happens to be the Wolfman. Now, of course, as everyone knows that's been a part of this channel for a while, I love me the Wolfman. I love Lon Chaney Jr.'s performance as the Wolfman. I love how this film is. It's one of my favorite Universal monster movies, and it's just a classic, and you can't go wrong. And of course, having it on the VHS cover and just having it part of the collection just means a whole lot more. We also have The Mummy's Curse. Now, of course, another Lon Chaney Jr. classic. This movie, of course, will match up with the Mummy VHS tape that we have up there as well. And it's nice to know that this one's also in great condition. He also has another one that's added to the collection as well from my friend Chris. And that just happens to be The Bride of Frankenstein, another classic in the Universal Monster movies. I just got this recently on the 4K, and I just need to watch it again, but I'm super happy to know that this is now part of the wall. I wish we got it like the classic collection, like how we have for Dracula, Frankenstein, and the Creature from the Black Lagoon, and now also The Invisible Man and the Wolfman, but it's nice to at least have this a part of the collection. Next up, we have The Fly, Vincent Price classic. I've seen this film a while ago. This is still a classic no matter what. I love this, and Chris had bought this at the Calgary Horror Con this past year. So it's great to actually have this a part of the collection. Just going off track with another VHS tape we got is Stephen King's Thinner. So now we have a bunch of fucking VHS tapes that are all like associated with Stephen King. So eventually at some point, maybe somewhere down the road with this channel, I'll be watching a lot of Stephen King films and doing reviews. But this one is one I saw as a kid, and I thought it was actually not too bad of a film. So I need to rewatch this because a lot of people say it kind of doesn't really hold up today. But yeah, nonetheless, good to have it on the VHS collection. Next up we got is Beyond Reanimator. Now, Chris was looking for this, and I was looking for this, but the original two, the Reanimator and Bride of Reanimator, we only found this one. And I will say that when it comes to these clamshells where they cut the VHS tape in half or in pieces, I am not a fan of it, but nonetheless, to know that we have one of the Reanimators at least is not too bad. I kind of wish it was the first one, but yeah, Jeffrey Combs as Herbert West is still a classic character. He plays it very well, and I'd love to meet this guy just to have a fucking conversation with him and, get his autograph, of course, too. Next up we have is Tremors, the first film, starring Kevin Bacon. I remember watching all of them, actually, except for the most recent ones. The last one I watched was where it was the Old West, and, you know, it's the old days, like the 1800s. But yeah, I remember Chris picking this up at the Calgary HorrorCon this year. I'm like, oh, you know what? Fuck yeah, that's right. We don't even have any of the Tremor movies. So eventually at some point, I'll probably end up wanting to rewatch these again, but nice to have for the collection on the wall. This one I love the fact that Chris has, but I hate the fact that he actually has it, is Terror in the Aisles. Now, I know I have to do a review on this for this channel this year because it's the 40th anniversary, but this is a classic movie for anyone who loves the history of horror and everything. I mean, it's got Donald Pleasance narrating in this, and it's, I don't know, I remember seeing this cover when I was young at Movie Gallery or Blockbuster, and I don't know, it always struck me as like, this looks interesting. I just never noticed all the movie titles in the skeleton. I mean, like, fuck, you can even see Halloween right there, right? Just right there, Halloween. So, nice to have this a part of the collection. I just wish it was a classic VHS box cover. Now, this one is the one that really hurts the most because Chris picked this one up, Horror Express. But of course, when you look at it, it says Horror Express. Because, of course, again, they like to cut fucking sleeves off VHS tapes. And I'm okay with how this movie can be. Like, it's been a while since I've actually seen this movie. And, of course, the Creepshow TV series brought this back to fame. Now, this is not the best looking of all the VHS tapes I've seen in people's collections, because I mean, this one's got like sun fade on the spine, but you know, it's nice to actually display it on the wall. And you know, it's got Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing in it, right? Like, come on, can't go wrong with that. Next up is actually a gift that I decided to get Chris for his birthday so that he actually could complete his collection. That is Army of Darkness. He has Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 on VHS, and he was looking for Army of Darkness for the longest time, but I found it for him and got it for his birthday. Now, you guys already know my review on this. It's a little bit, you know, not one of my favorites, but still a classic nonetheless, and I just love that cover. That's a kick-ass fucking cover, and I don't know, for some reason, I never did tie it in before with the Evil Dead franchise. I just thought, oh, the character just is in two different type of franchises, I guess. But you know, the older you get and the more research you do, you find out, oh no, this is just the third film. Next up we have is Return to Horror High. Chris picked this up when he was in BC, and you know, I've never heard of this movie, so I can't really say much, but you know, I don't know, it kind of looks like it's a comedy, I guess you could say. But you know, I'll eventually try and find this on some sort of format, but yeah, not bad. It kind of sits high above the shelf because it's one of those where it's like, yeah, I don't recognize this movie. So yeah, if there's fans out there, I'm sorry. Another VHS tape we got is Extra. This is another one that Chris picked up when he was in BC. This is the only time I've ever heard of this film. Literally is from In Search of Darkness, I think 2 or 3 when they were talking about this, and this is the only time I ever heard of it. So when I saw that he had bought it, I'm like, you saw this on In Search of Darkness, didn't you? He's like, yeah. I'm like, cool, have you ever watched it? He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. But yeah, I don't know, I don't know what to say about this cover. I just feel like it's just another alien invasion kind of movie, but you know, with a title like Extra, you can tell I've never fucking heard of this. So yeah, another nice pickup. Also, Chris has got The Man Who Knew Too Much. Now, this is a nice little collection, especially since he has a lot of the Alfred Hitchcock films. So, this is one of those ones, while I've seen it a while ago, but, you know, it's been quite some time, so probably have to rewatch it. But if I have to say anything, like, this is a pretty basic cover, especially when it's like, okay, it's Alfred Hitchcock just on the cover. It has nothing to do with the actual fucking movie. So it's like, okay, why are we seeing him on the cover? I don't get it. But yeah, nonetheless, pretty good. Another classic you should always have in your VHS collection is When a Stranger Calls. Eventually I'll have to do a review on this, but I was a little shocked the first time I watched this, where I've seen bits and pieces of, you know, have you checked the children? And I was not aware that that was at the beginning of the fucking movie. And then we end up following the film after. I was a little shocked by that. So eventually at some point I'll have to do a review on this guy, but nonetheless, pretty classic of a film. It's just, I think the remake did it a little bit better. Controversial take. Now, next up we have a twofer. Waxwork and Waxwork 2. Chris picked these up at the Calgary HorrorCon this year. He had just recently got, I think, the 4K or the Blu-ray of the double feature of this. But yeah, nice to actually have these two on the same time. Bought them the same day. So it's nice to actually have these. I need to watch them because I've never seen these films. I just know for a fact that when I saw this poster when I was young, I was like, that's a little creepy. The face that freaked me out the most was this one here. That one freaked me out the most. Or possibly this one. I can't remember, but it's one of these two that freaked me out the most. But yeah, not too bad of a pickup. Both 1 and 2. Next up, Chris, he's a big Sharks fan for Jaws. He's got a hard-on for that shit. But also, Piranha. Joe Dante classic. Piranha is one of those films that, you know, you have to see the original to appreciate it. Because, I mean, you know, like, let's face it, no one really liked Piranha 3D or Piranha 3 Double D. I know a lot of people call it 3DD, but it's like, it's Double D. Come on now. We all know what the fuck they're trying to imply. But if you haven't seen the original, I should suggest you give it a watch. It's been a while since I've seen this, so it'll be nice to actually revisit this film again. I'm looking forward to actually watching that. Next up we got is Jack Frost. Now, yeah, Jack Frost, you guys remember I did a review on this, I think, last year for my Chris's Horror Movie Month. Yeah, I'm glad that Chris picked this up for the wall, because, I mean, the fact that we got the cover that changes the face is really cool to have, because that was what I remembered when I was a kid, and for some odd reason, I never watched this as a kid, and then rewatching it, or finally watching it as an adult, and realizing how fucking stupid it is. I was like, why was I ever scared of this movie to ever watch it? I don't know. But nice pickup for the VHS wall. Next up we have is Deep Star 6. Now, haven't seen this movie. Eventually I'll have to watch this. But, you know, for the longest time, I thought this movie was never a horror movie. But, you know, searching it up, and it's like, oh, it is a horror movie. Oh, okay. I just thought it was just another, like, kind of... I know this is definitely before... what's the fucking James Cameron film? Abyss? The Abyss? But, you know, I don't know. I'm gonna have to give this movie a watch, because some of these titles that Chris picks up, I'm just like, what the fuck is this? What the fuck is that? So eventually I'll have to watch these ones. Now, next up we have, I'm so glad Chris picked it up, but I'm a little pissed off that he picked it up, is Black Christmas, a Canadian horror movie classic, especially a Christmas classic. Again, like I said, I don't like how they did this, because it's a VHS tape case that has been cut, as you can see along here. You can see that's the one spine, and there's the other side of the spine. But nonetheless, it seems every single time I see Black Christmas on VHS, there's always so many different covers for it. I'm just glad it's that cover, so that's not too bad. Again, this was a classic movie to watch. I fucking love this film. It's one of the ones I tend to go and watch on around the Christmas season. But of course, you know, there's the 2006 remake, and then there's the shit 2019 film. But nonetheless, everyone will always appreciate this one, because this one is the classic. Next up we got is Pumpkinhead. Now, truth be told, I've never seen this at all. I'm looking forward to actually watching this, because just seeing so many of the behind the scenes and photos and everything about this fucking film, I'm just impressed, especially being a big fan of Stan Winston and what he has done with film, especially, you know, creating the Terminator, doing the dog in the Thing, and having his hands on this, Pumpkinhead. So I'm looking forward to actually watching this. And yeah, this was actually a cheap buy for me. It was $5 when I picked it up at an antique store. So I was like, fuck, well, I'll get it for the VHS collection. Fuck it. Next up we got is American Werewolf in London, a classic, one of the top 5, possibly top 3 of the best werewolf movies of all time. A lot of people do helm this as sometimes better than The Howling, and some people say it's not as good as The Howling, but nonetheless, I'm so glad to actually finally have this in the collection, because especially in pristine condition too. So I'm glad to have this film in the collection. I can't wait to actually do a review on this, because it's a werewolf movie that needs to be talked about more and more as the years go on. And of course, as you guys already have seen a review for my first month of Horrorween, it was Boogeyman, the Killer Compilation. This was my introduction to all these other horror icons half the time. Now remember, if you had seen that review, I thought when I was a kid, this was a movie where all these characters were in one film, not thinking that it was clips from each of their respective films. I do feel that this needs to be redone, because I mean, like, you know, Pinhead, we could do like the new 2022 film of Hellraiser. Nightmare on Elm Street, I'd keep the same. Leatherface, I'd go for the 2003 film. Ghostface, I'd stick with the first Scream, or even Scream 2. Child's Play 2, I'd keep it the same. Candyman, I'd keep it the same. Leprechaun, I'd go for 3. Simon from the Ugly, I'm still looking for that movie. Wishmaster, I'm glad I met the actor who played the Wishmaster 2 years ago at the Calgary Horror Con in 2022. Had a smoke, and I actually had a conversation with him outside the hotel room, and yeah, I was like, you know, just having a casual conversation. Then next thing you know, I'm like, did I really just have a conversation with the Wishmaster? So that was actually pretty cool. But nonetheless, I'm glad that I actually have this on VHS. Have it on the DVD, but glad I have the VHS for it. Now, Chris, as you guys know, is a Texas Chainsaw Massacre fan, and he never owned the first, and now he does. He owns the very first Texas Chainsaw Massacre film on VHS. Now, this is the cheapest version he could have found on eBay, and, you know, I don't fault him for that. I mean, it's the first one. He has to have the first, because he had 2, 3, and 4 on VHS tapes, and he was just missing 2 of them, and this was one of them, and he's happy he finally has this. So in August, when we were doing the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise, it's nice to have this sitting on the shelf. And just like I said, he is missing only 2. He got the other one. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003 Remake. This one is going to be a very controversial thing, because a lot of people hated this film when this first came out. But I never saw why it was hated until it was like, oh, it's because it was remade. It was a remake. But this is now being heavily regarded as one of the best remakes that was just misunderstood. And I agree. This is one of my favorites in the franchise, and I'm glad Chris finally got to complete his set for VHS. Proud of him for that. But now he has the last 2 for his collection. Next up, I'm actually very glad I finally got a hold of this one. Now, I don't have the first one, but I got the second one. Silent Night, Deadly Night 2. I mean, it's kind of hard to say, like, well, I don't have the first one, but fuck, you got the first movie in this goddamn film. Because when you do the runtime of the actual second film, it's like, it's not even that long. So they had to do cuts and takes from the first film to just put in here. But I'll be talking about that some other time. But of course, as we all know, this is the one that has, you know, Garbage Day. This is the classic, and I'm glad I have this on VHS. I got this actually at the Calgary Horror Con this year. But I will say, I'm not really much of a big fan of that cover. That's just a fucking odd cover. Next up, I wish I had this by the time me and Justin had done our Saw franchise review. The first Saw film on VHS. In great pristine condition, because, I mean, like, yeah, 2004, right? But the tape would have came out in 2005. I'm just glad I actually owned one of them on VHS form, and just how clean it is. I'm actually very impressed with it. And as soon as I, you know, because all the tapes had the displayed like that, so as soon as I saw that, I just grabbed it right away, right? So I'm glad we have this one on the shelf for the collection. Now, of course, me and Chris ended up doing a little bit of a problem because he picked up the first and I picked up the second. And that would be Phantasm, a classic. The first two are definitely a classic. He got the first one and I got the second one. So we have Phantasm and Phantasm 2 on VHS. I'm just glad that we've managed to get both. We didn't see the third on VHS, sadly, but I'm glad we both got at least one copy of one of the Phantasm films in the franchises. I had just recently watched the second one, and, you know, a lot of people hated the second one, but for some odd reason, this one just, it holds up. It really does. And, of course, the first one is just a classic, like a 70s classic. And I know his looks like it's been sun-faded for a bit. You know, pretty bad, right? But just to know that we have it on VHS format, and the fact that we got probably the sexiest goddamn poster, right? On VHS format, it's nice to actually stare at when we're looking at the collection. And this is quite possibly the most expensive fucking VHS tape I've ever had to buy, and I'm glad I have it. The Return of the Living Dead. This was a film I saw back in 2011, and I was a massive fan of this. This was a good time to watch, and I have grown to love it every single year. This VHS tape, of course, you know, some people will say, like, you know, oh, it's in rough shape, but hey, sometimes it adds character. I'm glad I picked this up because it was one of the ones I was frantically looking for when it came to the VHS collecting. But I'm glad I have it, so thank God we have that in the collection. I'm glad. It cost me $80. And to add to the Halloween collection, I have Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. Now, you guys have probably seen my review on this, and I said it's kind of like a guilty pleasure. It's one of the ones I kind of enjoy, even though it's not what we expected. Donald Pleasance's last film, a film that stars Paul Rudd, and one of the best Michael Myers masks in the franchise. I'm just glad that this was in pristine condition, but still looking for Resurrection to complete the collection. And now after that, we come to something that was well needed, and that was all of the Friday the 13th. Now, we only picked up a few of them. Here's the first one, of course. This is apparently a very sought-after tape now, but I'm glad that we picked this up for the wall. It didn't come with a sticker. I had a bunch of these stickers that I got from the lobby from Kevin, and he had a bunch of these slasher stickers, so I just slapped it right on there. You can just tell that that's very recent. But yeah, we got the first one. We also got the second one, Friday the 13th Part 2. Now, you guys already know my reviews on these guys. These are good films, you know, especially with the covers. I'm just glad that I finally managed to add these to the wall. Now, here's the thing. Me and Chris... Oh, sorry, just kind of nudged you guys there. Let's adjust here real quick. Me and Chris got our own copies of Friday the 13th Part 3. This was actually the original one I had bought, and this is the one that Chris had gotten. But because the first two had the subtitles on the bottom, I just swapped them for the one that had a subtitle. So I was like, here you go. So I got this one, which would probably be a re-release, but it doesn't really matter. I'm glad I got Friday the 13th Part 3 on VHS. Thank God for that. And then the last one I ended up getting was Friday the 13th, the final chapter. Of course, the spine has been cut on the one side, but I really don't care. I'm just glad that I got the final chapter because the 40th anniversary just came out, and I'll be doing a review on the 3rd and 4th since there's only 2 Friday the 13th this year. I'm excited to actually talk about the final chapter. And the last newest one we got is Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning. One of these sleaziest slashers of all time. Even though, you know, a lot of people give shit to this film because it didn't have Jason Voorhees in it. Now people tend to like this film because of the sleaziness of it. Yeah, it feels like a Friday the 13th, and it's like, cool. And then people still shit on Halloween Ends for not having Michael Myers in it. But, you know, whatever. Glad that we have a bunch of these for the collection wall. So now I will show you guys what the wall looks like with all the tapes on it. So there has been the VHS collection update video for you guys. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the new VHS tapes I have collected. I hope you guys actually enjoyed watching it, and give me your thoughts on all the VHS tapes we've actually accumulated. And let me know if you guys have any that I might end up wanting to find on my wall. Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you also hit that thumbs up if you like the video and subscribe for more content. And don't forget to hit that bell notification so you get notified about all the other videos coming out on the channel, especially when it comes to all the anniversary films I have to catch up on. Anyways, guys, this is Steven Harrold from the Ginger Snaps here. I'll talk to you guys later, and stay spooky.